Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So tonight, well, we're going to do something a little different. When I was in high school, my best friend was a girl named Amber, and we stayed friends through, well, a real long time, actually. And as we got older, got married, all of that stuff, but we still stayed friends. And when she was going through a divorce, we started talking again more regularly. And one night, her husband came over and shot her and killed her. So, since then, domestic violence shelters have been a favorite charity of mine. There's one nearby, the Shelter House in Northwest Florida. If you want to check it out, it's shelterhousenwfl.org. And they do a whole lot. Now, if you don't know what these things are, when somebody's leaving an abusive relationship, that's the single most dangerous time. That's when things can really spin out of control. These shelters allow people to go to them, and they're really like safe houses. It's very hard to find out where the people are. Now, this one, in addition to having all of the normal functions, they also have a an animal shelter, because one of the reasons that people don't leave when they're in a situation like that is well, they're worried that the abuser will do something to the animal. So, Shelter House was just, well, we'll get rid of that reason, and they started an animal shelter too. They also provide kits for survivors of sexual assault at the hospitals. Give them clothing, new clothes, stuff like that, stuff that they would want. It's a really great organization. Now, they need some stuff, and we're going to get them for them. And by we, I mean us, and that's where the live chat, that money is going to help get some of the stuff they need. Now, initially, we were going to get Christmas presents for all the kids that were in the facilities, but the Marines, you know, first to go, last to know, had no idea that that was going on. So, Toys for Tots took care of the younger kids, and we're going to help the teens because sometimes they get left out in the lurch. And then if we get enough, we will also go through and uh, help get some other supplies they need. So that's where we're at today, and that's what we're going to be doing. So any of the super chat that comes in is that's what it's going to go to. So I'm trying to catch up on the chat. How are y'all doing tonight? Where can we donate? Use the super chat. Use the super chat. Um, Hopefully that's an option. Uh, Now, obviously, in case you haven't seen it, I just put up a video about the report coming out from Afghanistan. Um, and thank you, Monica. Hey, thank you, Nope Ninja. All right. Now, at least I know it works. I was getting worried there for a second. Um, and okay, so if you don't have anything right now, um, you can go to shelterhousenwfl.org. Go to I want to give, and then it'll have a list of options. It has stuff they need. Some of the stuff they need is like old cell phones, and you can just mail it to them because they turn those and they reactivate them, or they just use them for 911 calls. So it helps people escape. It helps people escape. That's really important. If you don't have money now, because we're right before Christmas, and you'll have some later, um, they have cool little tiered things there where you can make donations, and it gives you an idea of what $25 will actually do. And it, you'd be surprised at how just a few bucks here and there can really add up. Um, and I'm skimming through the questions now. Uh, anything, Heath, um, is actually extremely helpful. Um, so what we're hoping to do is get the Christmas presents for the teens. They are in need of cleaning supplies pretty badly as well. They had a food drive recently, and they got a bunch of food, but cleaning supplies got left out of it. Um, and then board games was something that was on the list. And one thing I should point out to those people who I'm certain will tune in just because they hate me, Shelter House does in no way endorse me. In fact, they're only vaguely aware that this is happening. Uh, and that's something I do, so no organization I support can get blamed for something I say. Uh, but it's a fantastic thing. Hey, Michael, nice to see you here. Evan, thank you. Malachi. Um, Now, if there's anything y'all want to talk about other than just hearing me ramble while we're doing this, that feel free to ask a question or time something, chime in with something. Um, yeah, YouTube does take a cut of this, and it does take 30 days to get it. Basically, we're going to front the money until it comes in, and YouTube does take a cut. That's true. And when what I've kind of realized from doing this on in other places is if it's right here in the live stream, people are more likely to do it, and it actually makes up for the percentage that they take. But that is a reality. YouTube does take a cut of this. It would be great if at some point they had a feature that was for charity drives where they didn't or took a smaller cut or whatever. Um, but so let's see. What do I think of Noam Chomsky? Read him. I read him pretty often, actually. Um, let's see what I think of the hearing today. It's we're going to see more and more um, of the same stuff, and it's going to get more inflammatory in defense because the longer it goes on, to the harder it is to defend some of the stuff that's coming out. And see, a lot of people have asked me about the YouTube walkout. Now, if you don't know, there are a lot of creators who are going to be taking a few days off from YouTube. It's kind of to send a message about some of the stuff that's going on. Uh, I am not sure if I'm participating in it. It starts tomorrow, so I probably should have figured that out before now. I know that I have one video that will for certain be uploaded during that period. Um, it's a conversation between myself and somebody that's participating that kind of helps explain what's going on. Uh, Now, if thing is, I don't. This is kind of becoming an addiction for me. I've always been a workaholic, and now, so I'm not 100% sure that I will be able to take 3 days off in a row. I might try, but I don't know. I'm still kind of undecided on that one. But I don't want it to seem like me uploading is not. It means I don't support what they're doing. I think they have a very valid point. Um, and there's always criticism anytime anybody does any form of activist endeavor, and there's been criticism of this. Some of it it's valid, some of it isn't. I mean, yeah, there is no, a few YouTubers taking a few days off is not going to cripple YouTube. That's not going to happen. um, but it may help draw attention to it, and in this case that's what they're trying to do. uh, let's see. Michael Giza, I'm still trying to get you to talk about how, as a truck driver, can help asylum seekers. uh, yeah, I don't know that I can answer that. I'm not sure what answer you're looking for there. Um, there are there are organizations that have been sending stuff to the facilities for them. Sometimes ICE accept it, sometimes they don't. So I don't know, and I don't know what the requirements are. I don't know why sometimes they appear to accept the donations for the asylum seekers, and sometimes they don't. I wish I knew. I'm not sure they know. It may be case by case, facility by facility. Um, but let's see. Is the walkout over the new algorithm? I'm going to let them explain that. Whether or not what the walkout is about. One of the people that I think most of y'all would actually know is going to be the one talking about it tomorrow. The video was actually recorded like a week ago. uh, let's see. Make sure I take the 24th, 25th, and 26th off. Do you or have you ever had a pet bobcat? If that's the photo I'm thinking of, that's a wolf. That's not a bobcat. Otherwise, no, I have never had a pet bobcat. Um, Consider Venmo, PayPal we were supposed to set up a direct PayPal thing during the last one and we didn't. Um, is there any way for those involved in obstruction of justice in Congress to be held accountable after Trump's administration is out without there being an accusation of gelling political opponents? Yes. And that is something that can be done. Whether or not it will is an entirely different matter because there's going to be a lot of people on the Democratic side of the aisle that don't want that precedent set. Um, but let's see. Do Patreon exclusive videos for 3 days and Facebook. Oh, I get what you're saying. Let's see. Thank you. Thank you, Bottled Lightning. Um, okay, so if you're just joining us, we just had a few more people chime in. The super chats tonight are going to go to buy presents for children that are in domestic violence shelters. So that's where we're going tonight. Um, let's see. Let's see. And since we've got you here, I'll go ahead and tell you we are already setting up the Atom. Thank you. Um, we're setting up the set for the children's channel. That is going to become a thing. Um, and I was actually hoping to launch it tomorrow, but that's probably not going to happen. Um, but we'll see. It should be coming soon, and we'll see if we can get any traction with it because there's going to be a huge gap of content for children that is going to be worth anything. What tricks do you expect McConnell to have during the impeachment? I think they're going to probably bring in. Okay, the question was, what tricks do I foresee McConnell using? I think they're going to bring in a lot of witnesses that have nothing to do with the impeachment. Uh, um, it seems that their strategy is to talk about Biden as much as humanly possible, and try to muddy the waters. Um, so I would imagine seeing a whole bunch of people that have absolutely nothing to do with the president's alleged abuse of power. Somebody asked, they said they had a clothing company. I have a clothing business. How can I donate items to your cause? Forged for Freedom. Uh, Check the Shelter House website, shelterhousenorthwestflorida.org. And they have all kinds of stuff and different ways that you can do things. In the past, we have had people just send in the cell phones. They may need clothes. They will probably, I would imagine, that they need clothes for interviews because a lot of times when people have to separate from a situation like this, they're leaving everything. They have to leave their job because the abuser knows where they work. They have to they have to change their entire life. It's like going into witness protection. Um, so they may need clothing for interviews because a lot of times when people pack up and go, they're thinking about the immediate and they may not realize what they're going to need in the future. Thank you, Barbara Gregory. Thank you, Osama number 5. Thank you. Uh, let's see here. Now, one of the things, while we have a lull in questions, I think one of the things about this is the way we talk about it, and a lot of the things that we say when we're talking about domestic violence is that we actually joke about it at times, and sometimes we don't mean to. It's a lot like what happened at the gas station. It's offhand, you know, and we say something like, well, if my wife cheated on me, I'd kill her, or something crazy like that. You don't actually mean it, but it helps normalize it. And then there are people that do it. And when we talk about it in the US, we refer to it as, domestic violence, or we give it some colloquial term. I think that we should use the term that generates the proper emotion, honor killing. It's what it is. We pretend like we don't have these problems here, but it's kind of the same thing. Uh, and it's something that I think might be able to drive the point home to a lot of people. Uh, Thank you, D Porch, uh, Adam Saney, Benjamin Morrison. Wonder if is that Benjamin? That is Benjamin. How are you doing? Let's see. Brady Boger, and let's see, Chris Kibb. Thank you, all of you guys. I live in Florida, but surrounded by Trump or die people. I so yeah, I know a couple of people that got rid of theirs, and now they're like, man, maybe I shouldn't have done that. How do you think historians will calculate the U.S.'s body count in the millions? I don't know. It's one of those things when you look back and people are talking about what a system did. When people talk about communism, they include people that starved. But when people talk about capitalism, they don't include those. It's a hindsight thing. I'm not sure how the American empire will be viewed, and how it will be looked at, and how they'll calculate the costs, because there are a lot of them. Now, the United States has been a force for good and a force for evil. I don't know how it's going to balance out. I don't know how that's going to be viewed. Um, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. I'd be interested. I mean, none of us will ever get to find out, but I would be very interested how this empire is viewed after it falls. Eventually it will, no matter what. Uh, the North Hawk, thank you. Uh, I hope it's reaching those who need it most too. I really do. Uh, Mr. Ehorn, thank you. Eric Gwen, it's hard to keep up, and that is fantastic. Uh, and we'll post a little video about where all this money is going and what's going on, um, like as far as what we were able to get with it, and kind of take care of everything. So you guys, at least there's some accountability on my end. Um, do you support GOP going to jail for not responding to Congress? That depends. That depends. If the person's a private citizen and they get the subpoena and they actually respond by saying, I'm just going to plead the fifth to everything, they have a right to do that. I don't know that that should be a crime. If they're currently employed by the US government and Congress wants to talk to them and they say no, yeah, that should be a crime. I mean, that's kind of like their whole job. How concerned should I be for my son enlisted under this president? Depends on what your son does. It depends on what the MOS is, what his specialty is. A lot of times, thank you, Ruth. Um, a lot of times, people are worried, and the job specialty that their child has chosen is something that never sees the front lines. But as far as deployment, I can imagine that a lot of people. I mean, we have constant deployments. We've had them for 20 years, and we'll keep having them for a while. They'll shift. I think that we'll see a shift from the Middle East to Africa here very shortly. Um, but I don't see any slowdown in the number of deployments. Okay, for those that are just joining us, because it looks like we've got another 70 or so viewers. The super chats tonight are going to go to help out a domestic violence shelter and get some of the things they need. So if you want to contribute, that's how you could do that. Um, the first priority is getting Christmas presents for teens who will be in the facility over the holidays. Um, let's see. How do we submit content for you to do a video on? Twitter, Facebook are the most immediate. You can send it via the email, the contact form on the actual website, but honestly, that takes so long. By the time I get most of those, it's it's stale. It's not a topic that anybody's talking about anymore. Um, I try to get through. Thank you, Taylor. Um, I try to get through the the messages on Twitter and on Facebook every night. I miss some. Do not feel bad about sending something twice. If I haven't responded, or at least you haven't seen that I've read it in a couple of days, send it again. Um, let's see. Please talk. Please talk to us about to handle our Trump and Fox loving relatives when we have to be with them at family gatherings. um, ask questions rather than make statements, and go that route. Use the Socratic method. Thank you, a voice for reason. Um, go through and also bribing me for another campfire video. Done, done. I've got one planned. Thank you, Patricia McCurdy. And uh, oh darn, I messed the bed. Thank you. Um, the let's see. So yeah, when you're talking to your family, ask questions, use the Socratic method, and just keep asking them. Just don't don't be argumentative. Well, Biden did all of this stuff. Is that what he did? Well, explain exactly what he did. Well, they said that he abused his power and tried to get Ukraine to do this, and it personally benefited him. How is that different than what Trump did? I'm confused. And don't say it in an accusatory manner. Just ask the question and see how they respond. Normally, they're probably still going to get mad, but if you're going to talk about politics over the holidays, they're going to get mad anyway. So at least try to uh, try to downplay your culpability in it. What about the Civil War talk? I don't see that as a reality. Thank you, Chuck Wolf. Um, I don't see. They have this image, and it's that somehow they're gonna start a civil war over Trump. The reality of that happening is slim to none. That's not going to be something that's going to be very likely, simply because we're not divided up geographically. I mean, what are they going to do? Go after Democrats? And it wouldn't be a war. We'd be talking about murder. Um, and as crazy as some of them seem in their rhetoric, I don't think that that's a reality. I think there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of lashing out, um, but I don't see any organization that is going to that's going to be able to pull that together. And from those groups that I've seen, I don't think many of them understand the response that would come from the U.S. government in that situation, or understand how to deal with that response to their advantage. So I don't see it as a reality. Um, let's see. I've been posting in a three percenter group. How best would you spread anti-Trump rhetoric that would resonate with them? um, so three percenters care primarily about firearms rights. Secondary to that is the Constitution in general. Show where he's violated the Constitution, and there are numerous places. Um, show those. That would be where I would go with it. Um, I want to thank for everybody who is chiming in, and we've had more people join. Super chats tonight are going to help out a domestic violence shelter. So open your wallet if you can. Um, I wanted to ask you, what do you do when history gets you down? Because it seems cycles repeat. I make a video. I get thanked a lot for these at times. Yeah, in some ways, this is therapy for me, just as much as it is helping to get a message out. To what extent do you think we can apply our modern morals to past events? It depends on what the moral is. Depends on what the morals is. There are some things that are universally wrong. They and they should have always been viewed that way. Um, some things are a little different. Things like child labor laws, for example. It's hard to look back and say, well, this was always wrong, because it wasn't. There was a time when children had to help for survival's sake. When you're talking about a lot of other events, it was always wrong. It was wrong then, and they knew it was wrong. So it's more of a case by case. And then we also have to gauge it in where they sat at the time it happened. Thomas Jefferson is one who is faulted a great deal for his stances on slavery. But when you compare him to his contemporaries, the guy was an abolitionist almost. Um, it's weird, because he was very flawed and did a lot of horrible stuff. I mean, horrible stuff. But at the same time, in a lot of ways, he kind of sparked a lot of the talk, at least in political circles. So it's unique. Uh, let's see. Thank you, proud communist. You got to get more active on Discord. Um, yeah, I mean, eventually, I keep every time I get to the point where I'm like, hey, I've got time to do this. I jump into, oh well, we need to start a kids channel. um, but yeah, I'm gonna try to come up with a time to like schedule, uh, actually schedule anything, but I'm gonna try to schedule sometimes each week to do various tasks on different social media, so I could be there more often. Thank you. Get the pitchforks. Uh, Grunick A. Thank you. Minnesota Northland, thank you. Do you think Giuliani is a Q conspiracy theorist? Yes. Yeah, I do. I do. Um, I can actually picture him sitting around a table with a bunch of administration officials trying to figure out who Q is. Um, I definitely believe that. There are a number of things that he said over time that kind of lean that direction. Uh, what is Discord? It's a chat server. Okay, if you're my age or older, it's basically AOL. The AOL chat rooms in something called Discord. They're very similar. Thoughts on unionizing prisoners? Uh, it's dangerous. That's something that they're going to have to decide to do. The repercussions for something like that can be pretty severe at times. So, thank you, B. Smith. Thank you, B. Smith. Uh, let's see. Do you think a Sanders presidency will inspire workers to demand more rights and more grassroots movements? Yes, absolutely. I definitely would see that as an outcome, because partially because of what he says, and he'll have a larger platform to say it, and partially because of the things that he wouldn't be able to get accomplished. I know that sounds weird. Bernie is not actually a savior. I think that his heart is in the right place, and I think that he can get a lot done. but there's going to be a whole lot that he won't be able to accomplish. And I think that that will further invigorate people at the local level to get involved. Uh, how do I help my homophobic family to start seeing gay people as people instead of abominations against God and nature? And that's in quotes, huh? you're in for a you're in for a long fight. Um, if you are religious, use the Bible. If you actually sit down and read it, there's not the context that is used to attack gay people today in the Bible. If you follow doctrine, it doesn't apply, and there isn't in the same area. You can show a whole bunch of things that are not thought of today as immoral at all, much less hugely immoral. And I would use those. It's still a long shot. I mean, at this point, you're literally arguing against what they believe God believes. So you're definitely in for a fight. Thank you, Nancy West. Uh, thank you, Maccabees Tack. Okay, as a 6'5" man, I wish there was a place I could have gone. Oh, yeah. Um, the these shelters, there is a limited number of them for men across the United States. I think there's only two, but I haven't looked in a very long time. Uh, but some of them will provide different sources to get kind of the same thing. Arzon Mercury, uh, thank you for a second. Yeah, you, yeah, y'all help me keep my sanity. As much as seeing people comment in agreement or even in disagreement that is in a positive light helps me stay sane. Thank you, Corey Gunnels. Uh, thank you, Anna LA. Thank you, Will Farrell. I'm trying to get through these real quick. Let's see. Thank you, Tay Zande. Ali Gonzalez Perez. Thank you. Please caucus, everyone. Thank you, D123. Thank you, Broken Root. Uh, Evans crossover. Sure. I'm open to talking to just about any other YouTuber as long as it's not a debate format. It's more of a conversation. There are very, very few people that I wouldn't talk to. Uh, thank you, Gussie8898. Uh, my parents is from Chile and was 10 years old during the start of the Chilean dictatorship. What are your thoughts on 20th century American imperialism in Latin America? Um, I've done a video on this and the outcomes of it. Um, there are very, very, very few positives that have come from it. Most of it has been in United States economic interests rather than the interest of freedom or even foreign policy. Uh, and there aren't a lot of situations where we helped. Um, the original idea of what gets cited was to actually stop colonialism, and instead we wound up kind of doing it ourselves in a more subtle fashion. Thank you, Randy Allen. Okay. You should do hot ones, Bo. Like hot takes, I guess. I don't know. I get too mad. I tend to calm down and like to respond rather than react to go along with tonight's video earlier. How do you get out of poverty without exploiting people and sacrificing your morals for a little more money and comfort? Man, I wish I had an answer to that. The That is the trouble, is that poverty is cyclical. You get stuck. You get stuck because it's expensive to be poor. Um, you know, you don't have the $5 you need, so it ends up costing you 30 down the road. It's hard. The people that I have seen do it, they've all done it one way, but it's not something that everybody can do. It's not something that even most people can do. And they will be the first ones to tell you they were trying, grinding, struggling, and then they got lucky. Um, Most of them started their own business. And by that, I don't mean anything huge. I mean, a lot of them started with like landscaping, stuff that could get started up real cheap. Just started with mowing lawns or something like that. And they did that while working 40 hours. But the other thing they all had in common was they were single. They didn't have kids. I have yet to see anybody get out of poverty when they have children, with the exception of just landing a good job that helped get them out slowly. That's We need a system change to allow more mobility. Uh, Thank you, Ice and Fire. The thoughts on the left. Okay, I gotta go back to that. We are seeing extreme right wing fantasizing about bringing up civil war and killing all the liberals because they don't have guns. Your thoughts on that, please. Um, there are a lot of assumptions. And this is true of both the people saying this and the people reading it. Uh, the assumption that people on the left don't have firearms is just not true. Um, in fact, I think I may actually be the only one of my circle that doesn't own a gun. Uh, and most of them really know how to use them, rather than just shooting paper. Uh, the other thing is, I think that when people reading these comments read it, they think they're representative, and they also don't understand the rhetoric of the right, the rhetoric of the conservative person. A lot of it is idle talk, and they know it's idle talk when they say it. Now, some of them know they definitely mean it, but that's a very small percentage of a very small group to begin with. Um, and I don't know that they have the backing of any large organizations. Thank you, Red Economics. Didn't know you did live streams now. Very rarely. I may start doing like one a month though. Uh, Thank you, Mark Hagood. Hey, good. Ha, good. No, sorry. Do you believe an abuser can change their ways? I believe folks can change, but my abuser claims to be getting help while also following gaslighting tendencies. I think that I think there's a window in which people can change, and uh, I don't know that it's everybody. And if do it this way, rather than being some stranger on the internet, you're one of my friends. No, they can't get out right now. It's not your job to fix them. That's what I would say if it was somebody that I actually knew. You know, approaching it from an intellectual standpoint, understanding, yeah, people can change. The question is, will they? And will they before something horrible happens? So I always advise when you're talking about personal safety, I advise certainty over anything else. So thank you, Rob Thiede, Thiede. Are you pro Antifa violence? um, some of these questions are great. Let's see. Thank you, Snowflake. Uh, let's see. Thank you, MacBee's Tack. How much do we need to raise for you to write an American history book full of real American history? Your approach and technique of teaching. I don't know. I need time. You know what I need? I need nanny. I need a nanny. That's what that's what I need. I need somebody to watch kids. um, eh, thank you, Tim Gray. Oh shit. Oh, sorry. That's fantastic. uh, yeah, that happened. Y'all were there the first time. The first time I cussed. Okay, so we've got more people coming in. Just so you know, super chats tonight are going to benefit a domestic violence shelter. We're going to take care of some of their needs with money that's coming in tonight. Let's see. Why Curious George? I've had Curious George stuff for a while. It meant something to a group of people that I worked with, kind of a mascot. Uh, if you think about it, and there's this guy somewhere he's not supposed to be. Nobody knows he's there. Most times people are looking for him, and most times he's up to no good. It kind of fit. And then one of my sons, thank you, G. Rooney. Um, one of my sons really got into Curious George, and so all this stuff came back out. And then I learned the origin of the story, and everything just kind of fit. So it has definitely become my mascot again. How can we set up an interview with you? Twitter or Facebook would be the easiest way to reach out. Uh, BGF Sanity. Stop donating, idiots. Give to the homeless, not a. Okay. Uh, yeah. So in case you missed the announcement, this is actually going to buy children a shelter, or buy children presents for Christmas that are currently in a shelter. So nice message though. Thank you, Big Dread. How far do you think internal reforms can go before the real nasty elements start shooting? Also, what might be done about something like that? So internal, there's that question: is can the system be reformed? And the answer is yes. Can it be reformed into what I want? Probably not. It's going to take a long, long, long time to get there if that's the case. Uh, there are a lot of reforms that can be made in the United States, and they can be done peacefully. And there are revolutions that can be done peacefully, and that's what we should strive for. I don't like focusing on those who are calling for violence, because I think it amplifies the idea that it's necessary, and I don't believe that it is in most cases. Um, but I don't. I don't think that those people have the support necessary to affect change. I mean, they can hurt people, they can, but I don't know that it's going to cause change. Uh, and thank you, Dark One, Andy. Have you ever considered running for office? Um, I I don't believe that anybody can run your life better than you, and that includes me. Um, I think I am more effective here, not in office, and I know that I'm just as corruptible as anybody else, and I don't want to put myself in that situation. I'm just as corruptible. I may just have a little bit more self discipline. Uh, thank you, Sally McLaughlin. Let's see. Okay, we've got a little bit of a lull. Um, opinion on Vermin Supreme. He's trying to drive a message. Vermin Supreme is the proud, not just is he a presidential candidate of note. Thank you, Jerry Watson. Um, the he's one of the few presidential candidates that also has a fifth column press pass. Um, his drive to demonstrate the absurdity of the elections uh, is something I can get behind. I definitely like his sense of humor, and who doesn't want a pony? So, um, let's see. Thank you, Mike Noonan. What are your hobbies? Photography, uh, gardening, uh, writing, stuff like that. That's what I've always enjoyed. Now, though, I just spend most of my time with my kids. The free time that I have, that's normally what I do. What's your opinion on adversarial parenting and its effects on social cohesion? Um, I'll be honest, I don't even know what that means. Adversarial parenting. I'm gonna have to look that up. I'll get back to you on that. Are you a socialist? No. Uh, I don't. I go out of my way not to identify my ideology. There's a whole lot of people that have guessed it. In fact, I'm sure within moments somebody is going to. There it is. Um, comment what it is. And that's close. It's not exactly it, but yeah. Um, let's see. Explain what the fifth column is. So the story is that there's a general approaching a city, and he wants the city to surrender without a fight. So he tells the mayor, I've got a column coming from the north, the south, the east, and the west. I also have a fifth column that's already inside the city and ready to open the gates. And that induced a surrender without a shot. Since then, the term has been used to describe all kinds of people, good and bad. When the term came up and how it's used now, the fifth column news website, um, the idea was that the media in general it has a lot of gatekeepers. They have a lot of people that keep the average person from either getting the information they need or participating in the process of journalism. So our idea was to be the media's fifth column, and we were going to open the gates and let people participate, and it's worked. That website has it spun off others, which are now being turned into their own standalone organizations, and a lot of journalists that kind of cut their teeth with us are now at major outlets, and they are continuing what they learned with us. And I'm actually really proud of how that worked. Thank you, throwing down the mask, uh, and thank you, Tim Zwicky. The Fifth Columnist praxis. Yeah, it is, and it's been more successful than we could have ever hoped. uh, the only problem I have with only you know best how to run your own life is that my neighbor knows best how to landscape his property and wash off part of mine. Yeah, um, that is there are problems with the idea that everybody can govern themselves. At the point in time we're at now, no, not everybody has the self-discipline necessary to say, I am corruptible and I can be wrong. But my goal would be to work to get us there, slowly but surely, incrementally if necessary. Thank you, Scott Wilhelms, and thank you, Zach Clark. Uh, what historical resources do you favor? Um, let's see. I tend to go for stuff that is written at the time, written at the time of the event. You know, if I want to learn about World War II, read both sides, people from both sides of the the conflict who were there at the time, and then go back and read somebody that wrote about it from a historical vantage point with hindsight. I think that gives you the clearest picture. Um, it's not always the best reading as far as entertaining because when you do that, you have to read some stuff written by some pretty messed up people. And it's not just what they did that's messed up. You will see it in their writing. Um, let's see. What are the chances of Senate impeaching Trump? I don't know. Um, I will tell you that a few weeks ago, I'd say zero. I don't think it's zero anymore. I think it's increasing. I think they are starting to. I think they're starting to see the reaction that it's creating. Um, and I think that it may start to cause some actual people to vote against him in the Senate. I don't know if it's enough to convict though, but I would consider 5 Republican votes for conviction. I think in the court of public opinion, I think that would be a conviction. Uh, and thank you, Rebel. Thank you, Rob Crawford. When did I have an epiphany that I was different than the friends I grew up with? When I came back after being gone. And I don't know that I'm any real different. I think I just had different experiences. You know, I was gone for a while and came back, and they're like, "Man, you've changed." And I'm like, "You haven't," and it's been years. So I don't have. I don't know that I am actually any different. I think it's the experience has changed who I was. Thoughts on BreadTube? I am apparently Bread Uncle Bo of BreadTube, something like that, like an honorary uncle of it. Uh, I try not to get involved in YouTube uh, arguments or drama. It's just not something I want to do. I haven't seen a lot of it from that set of them, and but I mean overall, I definitely enjoy their messages. I watch them. Let's see. Okay. Do you have TDS? Trump denial syndrome? No, no. I'm completely aware that he's a sellout and somebody who's betrayed the country. Totally. Um, G. Rooney, thank you. Do you think our election system is flawed? Yes. Uh, how do you think it can be fixed or improved? That's a subject of an upcoming video, and I don't want to give it away. Um, I will tell you that the summation of it is there's a debate over what type of system we should use. Why not both? Maybe the problem is that we make it too easy to get in office rather than too hard. Um, Even not identifying as a socialist, you tend to lean more towards socialist policies. I like policies that help people. Um, I, so from that, if I have the policies of today versus the policies of today in the United States versus the policies of a lot of other Western countries that dabble in socialism, I would definitely choose those of other countries. Um, Thank you, Deja Actarius. Uh, what events give you the most hope for the future of the United States? Uh, Watching a lot of young people tell people my age to go climb a tree. that's uh, that's definitely. Uh, I think that our younger people have more access to information and they're using it, and I think that that use is going to lead to a lot of profound changes. Um, there's a couple people asking about a particular company. Uh, I I'm not a fan of them. I'm very biased against them, so I don't know that I can rate their trustworthiness. um, some of my when I started journalism, one of my first things was going through some email spools that a guy named Jeremy Hammond got, and that that kind of soured my view of that organization a lot. So um, yeah. Anyway, do you understand economics whatsoever? Well, I don't know. I don't know. Tax the mega churches. Signing off. I hit you up on Facebook, please. Okay. So it's funny when it comes to the people that troll the page or trolling here. It amazes me how self-aware they aren't. you know, a lot of them talk about economics, for example. Thank you, chicken head peaky Neely. um, yeah, they talk about economics and how you don't want taxes, you don't want this type of stuff, and you don't want safety nets, and the government shouldn't have to fund these things. Other institutions should do it. So they come to a live stream where that's actually happening and attempt to disrupt it because they're very, very bright people, the finest people on both sides. Um, do you think that a post-scarcity society could lead to the world you want? Yeah, yes, absolutely. I think that's where we need to be going. Hearing impaired feature, can you turn it on next time, please? I thought it was. Man, let's see. What do I think of the Seasteading Institute? It's cool. That's a novel idea. Um, the Bookworm 1980. Have you read The Color of Money? I don't think so. I don't think so. I'll look it up though. Let's see what it is. Are you a Trekkie? Like Star Trek? Uh, no, I'm not like a huge fan of any phenomenon or franchise like that. But I've watched them, and I like a lot of the ideas that get presented in the subtext of the episodes. Will you participate in the YouTube walkout? I'm not sure. Did you donate to Team Trees? Yes. Uh, Thank you, Dratum Imus from Utah. Thank you. Uh, what do you think of ranked choice voting? Yes. I think that is definitely something that could help a lot in the United States and also help get rid of the establishment icons that are in both parties that are kind of really helping it. helping keep it down. Let's see. Okay, what's the opinion of the Real ID Act? I go with Adrian Wiley on that one. I don't think it's necessary at all. Much, I mean, much less, much less further restrictions on flying or entering certain buildings or anything like that. I don't believe the Real ID Act is necessary. Period. Full stop. Um, mm, mm, okay. So let's see here. Um, okay, so we've still got more people coming in, although we're going to have to wind this down here shortly. Any of the super chats tonight are going to be used to go. Uh, we're going to use it to help out a domestic violence shelter here in the area. So, Chickenhead PK Neely, where did you go to school? I had a teacher who said question everything. Keep it up. Uh, we need to hear the truth for truth's sakes. And what did you do for a living? Kind of not sure exactly what's being asked there. Um, I think if you're going where I think you're going with that, I did not attend the Williamsburg School of Agriculture. I did not go there. That's not part of my background. Um, I would suggest uh, watching a video. Let's talk about 100,000 subscribers. That will probably give you the answers that you're looking for. CET675 is Stratford. That's the company I was talking about. I'm very biased against Stratford. I don't know that I can give. I don't view them as a trusted agent. I don't view them as anything. um, but I am extremely biased. That is based on my own personal biases against them. Um, I tend to avoid that topic, that company, like the plague. So, um, trans rights. Okay. And let's see, will you train police again? Maybe. It's got to be people that are trying to do better and don't want to hurt people. Uh, thank you, Ken027. All right. And thank you, Natasha Nix. We are we're about out of time, mainly because my computer's flashing up here that in 3 minutes it's gonna die. So we're definitely gonna have to close out. What do I think of the American involvement in Bolivia? I wish more people understood what the School of Americas was. Um, let's see. Will Trump voluntarily leave office when it's time for him to go? I think so. I think so. I don't think he wants to be remembered as that big of a loser. I think he will go quietly. Achilles 1776. Who do you want to win the Democratic primary? I do not endorse political candidates. um, I'm of the firm belief that anybody would be better than Trump, and I don't want to I don't want to sway anybody's vote based on what I believe. Um, let's see. Zach Clark. I work at a local radio station. Would you be opposed to radio airing your videos? No, no, not at all. All right, guys. So that's gonna be the end of it. I I really appreciate it and thank you for all the help. And yeah, I will definitely post a video of us either gathering all this stuff up or dropping it off or whatever. Something to provide a little bit of accountability so you guys know what I'm actually doing. Um, anyway, I truly appreciate all the help, and I guess it's just a thought. Y'all have a good night.